are going to talk about any other president who oversaw proper listing on an NSE, or should I say, who oversaw privatization of public companies that later graduated onto the NSE, then you have to go back to former president, the late Mwai Kibaki. So if you look at what he did, vis-a-vis what has been happening since then up to now, it is laughable. So because you have to go back to 2008, in fact, for you to find the last successful privatization by the government, which was Safaricom. That was the last IPO that we saw, 2008, which essentially means that no state-owned firm, right, was sold at the NSE during the 10 years of tenure of President Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know whether you're supposed to look at it from that perspective. Yes, you are. Why? I will tell you why. We have a privatization commission. Yesterday, when President Ruto sat with the CEO, he actually did tell them that they have a task to prove to him why they have to get paid their salaries. Because he said, if any other government official performs like they are performing, then they must get fired. So those gentlemen at the helm of the Privatization Commission are staring at job losses. Because again, he said, if the law then doesn't work, that's the Privatization Act, let's repeal it so that we can have more companies getting privatized so that they could be onboarded to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, owing to the fact that indeed the economy does stare at proper chances of revenue generation and wealth generation, any other conversation around capital generation, if majority then of companies that are doing well get onboarded to the NSE. Now, if you go back to the last listing then that we did see as an economy, you have to go back to 2015. That is almost 7 years ago in October. In fact, exactly 7 years ago, because we're in October, when we did see the listing of Stanley Fahari. That was the rate that was listed. So 7 years since the last listing, over 14 years since the last IPO, for an economy that has over 3,000 companies that are running business in the country. In fact, majority of them are quite huge. Talk about KMC, talk about KPA, talk about Kenya Pipeline, talk about Bitco, talk about Coca-Cola Kenya. All of them are actually operating in the Kenyan economy, but they're not listed. Majority of these other companies, by the way, are listed in other stock exchange, to be specific, Coca-Cola, but they saw no need of Coca-Cola Kenya then being onboarded onto the local market. So whether that is, again, another thing that we have to question, we'll have to wait and see. Because then, if indeed Mumia Sugar was listed in 2003, and then 5 years later, that's when we saw Safaricom, you gotta ask the question, do we need to lessen the rules around listing? Again, let's go back to the Moi era then. We've got to talk about this. Kenya has privatized 8 companies through public offers between 1990 and 2002 during the Moi era, including CMC Holdings, National Bank, and Kenya Airways. In fact, National Bank and Kenya Airways, we do know exactly what has transpired in those companies, and Kenya Airways as well. But then it means, indeed, from 1990 to 2002 during the Moi's era, we did see a couple of listings. That is, privatization. Up until Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure, as when things stopped. So that's why Ruto spoke to the gentleman at the helm of the Kenya Privatization Commission and told them, I mean, if you're not doing your jobs, then go home. Or you have a hard task to prove to me why we need to pay you your salaries. Interesting enough. Now, this is what he said. that in his tenure is going to see 10 public companies or government-run companies get privatized and then onboarded onto the NSE. And we don't know what those 10 are. You got to start from KPA, Kenya Pipeline, and then go all the way down to Kenya Meat Commission, which is okay. 10. But then, the chairman of NSE also said that they intend to onboard 5 more onto the NSE. We do know whether that will be, and I'm saying that going by the trend that we've seen, maybe that might be on the gem segment or the meme segment. He did say, though, that in the next 12 months, 5 of them are going to get onboarded. We've never seen anything like that. And that's why we ask the question, how is it going to be possible? What we do know, the 5 are coming in the next 1 year, that is 12 months, in whatever form, either in the gem segment or the meme segment, and then the 10 for Ruto, also on the way. You also did announce that a Credit Bank and Bio Yogurt are just about to get on board. Again, we know whatever segment that will be. This is Lookupbusiness. My name is Simba. Elijah Charles Kiage. Join us online at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. We start right now. President William Ruto has indicated that there is need to use the Nairobi Securities Exchange as a wealth creator for the Kenyan youth. The president spoke during the launch of the NSE Marketplace, a drive targeting to enhance the Nairobi Securities operations to make it easy for investments and position it as a revenue generator for government development. Edwin John Mukora with more details.
Continuing with his message of enabling wealth distribution within the country and uplifting small-scale traders, the hustlers, the president has challenged the capital markets and the Nairobi Security Exchange to make it easy to invest in the stock.
We all agree it's a profitable space. It's not always you get interest of 10%, 12% guaranteed by government. You're doing well. I mean, the banks are doing well. Let's be honest. But the small people are not doing well. You know, they are getting 2%, 1% for the money they save in our banks. I think it's only fair that we begin the journey to even our returns. Let us even the returns.
Ruto further added that the government will advance more facilitative and responsive investment policies and the enhancement of the Investor Compensation Fund and government to privatize successful state corporations in a bid to promote listing at the NSE.
I want to persuade you that the growth of the capital market has to be a shared agenda of my government and the private sector. There is need for both sectors to work together in good faith, develop trust, and make reciprocal contribution to its success.
Reacting to the call from the president, the chairperson of the board of Nairobi Security Exchange, Kiprono Kitoni, indicated that they plan to accelerate onboarding of local companies onto the market, putting a number on the table. 5 companies in the next 12 months, in a market where the last listing happened in 2015. It will be an uphill task for CMA to achieve such a feat in such a short period.
Not experienced commensurate, robust growth over the last 10 years. In fact, the last few years have been particularly depressing. The situation has decreased domestic and foreign direct investment in our country that is usually channeled through the capital markets. In our view, Kenya, being one of the most promising frontier economies in the world, may soon not have the public capital markets to match the dynamism if the challenge is not adequately addressed.
Present at the event were top-listed companies CEOs like Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa and Equity Bank's Managing Director and CEO James Mwangi, among others, who all reaffirmed the president's belief that the NSE presented opportunities for wealth creation.
As a corporate and as a technology company, we can work with NSE and the CMA to make it easier. Your Excellency, we are ready to work with the NSE and key partners to educate, to innovate, and to digitize and improve convenience, especially for retail investors and medium-sized businesses who want to raise funding.
Equity today has grown. When we rang the bell, the market cap was 4 billion shillings. The balance sheet was 12 billion shillings. Today, the market cap, Your Excellency, is 175 billion and a balance sheet of 1.4 trillion shillings. That is a very complex organization.
A new dawn for a market that has been declared the second worst performing in Eastern Central Africa in 2022. Will this be the magic bullet to unlocking the market? And will Kenyans see the need to invest at the NSE? For now, the 5 companies to be listed before the end of the year is a good start. Edwin John Mokora, Lookup TV.
A suspected bank robber was shot and injured Tuesday as he attempted to rob an Equity Bank branch in Nairobi's West area. 3 people, including 2 BM security guards and a bank customer, were rushed to hospital with injuries after the suspect stabbed them as he tried to rob the bank attendants and the customers.
A sad atmosphere engulfed Equity Bank, Nairobi West. This is after a man allegedly tried to rob the bank a few minutes after the G4S officers ferried in bags of money in the bank. The middle-aged man stabbed the security officers and one of the customers who had gone to look for services in the bank. This was before proceeding towards the manager's office with a handheld knife, threatening her to give him money. The wise said the days of a thief are numbered. And in the action, security officers entered and shot the man, causing tension in the room. Confirming the incident, Langata police boss Monica Kimani said that it is not clear whether the suspect was on his own, although investigations have commenced to know what really traversed.
Our officers who were guarding the bank were able to get into the banking hall, and at that time asked the assailant to surrender and drop the knife, but he didn't. And in the process, he charged towards the officer, and one of our officers, this prompted one of our officers to shoot to the assailant, and managed to disarm him.
Monica Kimani has added that they will use the CCTV footage in the investigation to dig deeper as to what the attackers were planning and their main mission. There has been an increase in violent crimes in parts of the city as gangs attack for valuables and cash.
He went to the operations manager's office and threatened her. But on sensing real danger, she raised her up, and this attracted the officers who were manning the bank.
Police advise victims to cooperate with the attackers for their own safety. Karaoke Nduati, Lookup TV, Nairobi.
Azimio One Kenya Coalition is opposed to the government's lifting of the almost a decade-long ban on genetically modified organisms. Azimio One Kenya Alliance, Kalonzo Musyoka says the decision to lift the ban did not benefit from a public participation. Kalonzo accused the government of basing its decisions on research allegedly funded with the big companies with a desired end in mind.
Point number 4, I'm now at page 5. I told you there are 6 pages. Science has shown gray areas as far as the safety of consumption of GMOs is concerned. This poses a grave challenge to already emaciated healthcare system in the long term. The dependence of GMOs on toxic herbicides is a threat to human health and the environment. The rush, therefore, to introduce GMO is alarming when the able in society, as well as many developed countries, are going organic. In fact, you go to any supermarket in Europe and you want to buy GMO food, the shop owners will tell you this is GMO, this is organic. And the organic food is more expensive than the GMO. This is the reality. We therefore must remain organic and avoid acceleration of food-related diseases such as cancer. Number 6, on such a weighty matter, especially as concerns food and food security, there should have been nationwide discourse through public engagement, education, and participation. The government did not engage in public participation. We shall therefore be progressing this conversation to the National Assembly and to the Senate. We urge our leaders to take this challenge.
Members of Parliament are looking to amend the Constitution through 2 bills that look to give them power to manage the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, a move that will see a renewed fight with the civil society that got the Supreme Court a green light to declare the kitty unconstitutional. The 2 bills seek to entrench the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, which will effectively see constituencies be entitled to at least 5% of the total annual revenue due to the national government. Moving on, Garissa County Governor Nathif Jama has appealed to development partners, donors, and the national government to join hands and work together in finding immediate intervention measures for drought in the area. Speaking on the sidelines of an event or in an event attended by the area commissioner, Boaz Cherotich, Jama said that there is need for joint efforts by all players to cushion the residents from the severe effects of drought.
We hope to see much more activities being undertaken by the development partners and agencies. And for that matter, as the county government, in addition to whatever we're doing, we will also enhance our support. In fact, I've just committed, despite the current situation that we're in, whereby we are passing through a period of transition as a county government, but I've just committed to 40 million shillings to immediately from our little resources so that we buy water and food for our people immediately.
We want to appeal to all our development partners, the donors, and the agencies working in the county to double up their efforts. We really appreciate the work they are doing. We have also stressed the issue of duplication, and therefore we have agreed that a small team will sit to look at those issues so that a report can be tabled before the governor.
Well, it's good news though that the trading is back online. Remember, on Monday, we did not have any trading because it was Utamaduni Day, and it was actually clarified, not Huduma Day, Utamaduni Day. And the only way to celebrate it is to reflect on your culture, on your Utamaduni. So we did not have any trading. So we've been using Friday's figures that came all the way up to yesterday's opening. Yeah. So we did check what the real-time trading was yesterday. So let's go back to that and see exactly how the markets closed. And by the way, the good news now is when we want to check whether the markets reacted from the NSC Marketplace event, which you're going to watch again, selected speeches from top officials who attended yesterday. We do have it in the next part of our show today. But let's check and see whether you really reacted to what the president was saying, using the NSC, the capital markets, for creating wealth. That's what it is we're going to check. All right, let's jump then and see whether we have a change in the top gainers list, going by anything that the president spoke yesterday. Not so much as well. Again, it looks as if we didn't spar the majority of trading on, and I say yesterday we don't have Samia and Nairobi Business Ventures, but we've got to talk about Nairobi Business Ventures. It looks as if they're stuck at around 340, 350, because yesterday they did end it on a positive of 9.26% to end at 3 shillings and 54 cents. So you will say they've been oscillating there, and we do know why, by the way, and I can't stop reminding you, they're already into the main investment market segment at the NSE, and they did graduate from the GEMS segment. And also, when you look at it, then you will say that then will attract investment, and that's why majority of investors then are looking at that particular stock and saying, well, I think they would attract investments. Uchumi is back at it again, 27 cents, not so much. The rest of their stocks have been there, so not so much of a surprise in that top 5 list. Let's move into the next one, top losers, and we're going to check whether NCBA did close again on the top losers list. If indeed they did close there, then we've got to talk about again. By the way, not a surprise for NCBA, because then how you look at it, you can't really say that they're doing badly. No, they're not, because they're 30. The biggest could be around 33 shillings. So that's negative 3 shillings that is off that stock, then is exactly what you're looking at and then saying, well, they could be the top losers. And indeed they are, because if you look at that percentage, negative 5.95%. So a drop by just 3 shillings would compound it to negative 5.95%. Capture T is back at it again, 112 shillings. Could be around 115, 116. That could be a healthy standing for Capture T. That is making them the biggest drop at negative, top 5 has dropped, sorry, at negative 5.88%. Kenya Re is back at it again. We've spoken about it, the being among the top traders. So yes, even if there was a sudden spike in it, and then they don't get to maintain it within the week, like we saw last week, then they will be back at it again, at this drop again, 1.86, representing negative 6.06%. In that drop, Sasine is only 21 shillings and 50 cents. And that is exactly how the top losers list looks. Let's now move on to the top movers list, by the way. This is exactly what you're checking up on, and which will show you exactly where the market is. Safaricom. Yesterday after 2 hours of trading, we had them at around 7 million, and we did say that KPLC was catching up. They've caught up again, and I will tell you now, it's quite clear why there is this sort of investment drive at KPLC. If indeed the president is talking about making companies align, and there's a very important line that he used yesterday, that if you've been sinning as a government company, they are ready to forgive those sins and list. Probably. That's why KPLC is back to the levels that we saw them when Dini Nyoro announced that is bought more shares in it. This is a level that is from a month ago, 7 million shares. And that's huge by KPLC levels. And then we're talking about Kengen, 890. But the energy quotas on there have been quite big. And then Kenya Re, 807,100. It looks as if the news yesterday of equities balance sheet, which is 1.3 trillion. Wow, that's a lot. It did not spur much of investment, 293,100. Safaricom leading as expected at this stage in the market, especially when majority of investors right now are settling with the news that they already do have a mobile money market license, in Ethiopia, and officially launching Ethiopian market with over 200,000 subscribers. It's just for us to watch and see exactly where this is headed. Now, let's end it like this then before we take a short break and then get into the next part of our show here today on our Lookupbusiness. Yesterday's event. And if you listen to majority of the CEOs who spoke at that event, majority of them are the ones that the particular stocks are performing really good. from yesterday. We did see the cooperative CEO. We did see the Safaricom CEO. We do know exactly how Safaricom has been trading. And the last IPO that we did see in the market from 2008, almost 14 years ago. Wow, time moves really fast. So for us, it's just to listen to them on a deeper level than in the second part of Lookupbusiness today, but we get to really hear what they're saying about the stock market. Where are we as regards the investment opportunities in the local market? And get to listen to the Equity Bank CEO, James Mwangi, talking about how they started from nothing, and from where they are right now, what has really pushed them to this level is listing on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and how you can also start making money on that particular stock exchange. We're actually calling it Securities Exchange now. Once we come back right here on Lookupbusiness.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Conversations that are arrive right now, or by the way, welcome back to Lookupbusiness. My name is Simba Charles Kiage. If you're just joining us now, conversations that arrive right now in the Kenyan economy, in as much as capital market is concerned, is that we do expect the listing of Credit Bank and Bio Yogurt. The president did announce yesterday at the NSC Marketplace event. Again, we do expect that 10 companies, we do not have a period, but 10 public companies, yes, that are run by the Kenyan government, are going to be privatized and then onboarded onto the NSC, because the last IPO that we did see was 2008. So that is the president announcing that we're going to witness more IPOs in his tenure. And it was to beat President Kibaki's time when we did see almost 8 get onboarded, privatized and get onboarded to the NSC. But other than that, the NSC also did announce that we do expect 5 more stocks to appear on the NSC in the next 12 months, that is the next 1 year. So a time like this next year, we'll be talking about an additional 5 counters on the NSA, and we do know exactly which companies are those that we're looking at, in as much as the 10 government-run entities are going to be privatized, because they say the top performing. They will start all the way from KMC, we come to KPA, you go to Kenya Pipeline, and the rest of them as well. Now, for us is to go back then to the event and sample for you the top conversations around what the Nairobi Securities Exchange means to you and I in terms of investments and what they are bound to do then to unlock the possibility of getting revenue and capital to run this country and to be in our pockets in the next couple days. We're calling it the new look capital markets. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen. On Monday, 5th September 2022, the Nairobi Securities Exchange reacted positively to the Supreme Court ruling upholding your victory by gaining 42 billion on that trading day alone. On that day, as we received trading orders from our local and foreign clients, this reaction by investors was the clearest indication that the market embraced your win and that it has confidence in your stewardship of the Kenya economy generally and the financial markets in particular. Your Excellency, the support you have accorded the industry over the years is unprecedented, unmatched, and appreciated. What many people do not know and what we would like to highlight today is how instrumental you have been in guiding the innovation of the new capital markets products like Ibuka and M-Akiba. As the Kenya Association of Stockbrokers and Investment Banks, we have always been and remain sincerely grateful for your support. As you embark on the task of implementing the government agenda, we confirm that the industry is willing, ready, and eager to offer our support. We seek to hold hands with government and generate capital to complement the government initiatives aimed at raising funds and growing the well-being of Kenyans. On 5th September, when the stock market investors embraced your win, they also embraced your economic agenda and your manifesto, which shall spur economic development. Your Excellency, we are here to play our part in building the Kenya you have so vividly dreamed and have tirelessly spoken of.
We need an infrastructure green bond for the city of Nairobi to do our metro, to do great infrastructure projects. Unless we creatively think of ways of financing these projects and Kenyans are willing to put their money in there, Your Excellency, we will not be able to achieve this. So we want to thank you for signaling your support and at the onset of your administration, coming to support this securities exchange. We can make it. There are certain indicators that actually determine the place of a global city. And Your Excellency, I want to thank you for the support so far that you've given to Nairobi County for us to position ourselves as that capital. Your Excellency, working closely with partners like the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the Nairobi International Financial Center, Authority, Kenya Invest, amongst others, we can create Africa's leading investment hubs. We also look forward to partnering with the ministry, and I'm glad to see my brother, the incoming Minister for Trade and Investments, Trade and Industry, so that we can actually creatively think of how to engage our people. Your Excellency, many times you told Kenyans, especially when you went to the North Rift, that while they're dealing with stock theft, others are dealing with stock exchange. Now this is the securities exchange.
CMA overhauled regulations on capital raising, what's known as the Draft Public Offers Listing and Disclosures Regulation, and we're now waiting for those regulations to be gazetted. There are 5 key reforms, basically making it easier, lowering the requirements, increasing the scope of companies that can raise capital, allowing the waiving of regulatory costs for deserving firms, and significantly lowering the costs of compliance. The CMA is focused heavily on promoting innovation in this space. You recently pronounced that we need to fully leverage the fintech space to enable small investors to access affordable capital. CMA introduced a regulatory sandbox in 2020, a safe place where businesses can test innovative products innovative services and innovative business models in conjunction with CMA to develop the appropriate regulatory guidelines. For example, we have witnessed an influx of interest in blockchain and digital assets-related applications, which have raised the need for the CMA to study the global trends and create our policies within the space. The sandbox has attracted great interest from the youth, from private equity and venture capital players. 12 have come in, 6 have exited, and the most recent one being Possessia, a debt crowding platform. We've looked at your Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and we see innovation opportunities in agriculture. We're supporting innovation in implementing structured commodities trading through the warehouse receipt system and supporting the launch of fully fledged commodities exchanges. Additionally, we continue to push for reforms in the coffee sector, which have dramatically slowed by the recently gazetted regulations by the Ministry of Agriculture. We need the capital markets to continue to oversee the revamped commodities trading environment to provide greater transparency and higher prices. In housing and settlement, we will continue to push real estate investment trusts, real estate development trusts. We saw the listing of Acorn and Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. And on infrastructure, we'll continue to push county project bonds.
We need to solve some of the barriers, or continue to solve some of the barriers to both the listing and the trading, and broaden participation and liquidity. Stocks and exchange are complicated to the ordinary person and to small business owners. We need to raise awareness, we need to drive education, we need to simplify products, we need to improve experience, and also we need to reduce cost of access. There's no better way than digitizing and automating processes and customer journeys. Some of the speakers have already started to speak. And since COVID, we've seen accelerated use of online platforms. Use of mobile handsets as a channel because it's ubiquitous, mobile payments as a way of settling and making experience seamless, and remove time-bound nature to trading would be some of the opportunities. We've partnered with the NSC and the capital markets, with the CDSC to innovate. Akiba buying bonds, the first mobile retail bond, Bonga points for shares from last year. Your Excellency, you may have a lot of Bonga points in your phone. I can tell you how to redeem some of those Bonga points for shares. We can do more together to promote fractional ownership of shares, and we can use digital channels for that, both shares and bonds, to democratize participation. But also on the supply side, we can do more to help MSMEs and SMEs who are, we have about 1 million SMEs on our platform. We can improve education, awareness, and deliver digital journeys. Listing is complicated and daunting, and managing a listed business is no mean task. Reporting, governance, ESG, and so on. As a corporate and as a technology company, we can work with NSC and the CMA to make it easier. Your Excellency, we are ready to work with the NSC and key partners to educate, to innovate, and to digitize and improve convenience, especially for retail investors and medium-sized businesses who want to raise funding. It's about enabling savings, financing, investment, and partnership.
I think the most significant thing is the power of a stock exchange to raise capital. The hustlers from Nyagatogo village had found a way of getting partners who had capital, and they had capitalized their business. Taking it from that day, we didn't, because we had raised capital from one individual as a strategic investor to give us anchor, the 2,000 hustlers found liquidity from the stock exchange. Today, they have sold to 30,000 other investors without Equity ever issuing shares. The amount they have delivered, the 2,000 have become anchor SME investors in this country, in all sectors. So we can see how the market avails liquidity when needed. The hustlers don't need to go, they don't need to negotiate with anybody. The market discovers the price for them. Lastly is then the ability to transition the entity. Equity today has grown. When we rang the bell, the market cap was 4 billion shillings. The balance sheet was 12 billion shillings. Today, the market cap, Your Excellency, is 175 billion and a balance sheet of 1.4 trillion shillings. That is a very complex organization. But the stock exchange has allowed us to be able to transit and the Hasura shareholders to invite sophisticated and complex shareholders. Today, Equity's largest shareholder is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Norway, Norfund, holding 13% shareholding. And without ever having been sold to the company, they bought from the market. The second largest shareholder is the World Bank Group. Recently concluded a transaction in April this year when they bought the shares of 7% of the shares of Britam. And we can see how Equity then can move from a Hasura company to a global company simply because of a stock exchange.
Over the last few years, the NSE has made significant investments aimed at enabling us to offer world-class services through a world-class market infrastructure anchored on a globally recognized investment products and cutting-edge technology. The NSE has been successful in developing a broad range of diverse investment products, enabling issuers to raise capital, investors to build portfolios across a wide range of globally recognized products. Currently, the NSE is the second most diverse in Africa, after South Africa. From a technology point of view, the NSE has adopted best-in-class technology, deploying similar technological capabilities offered by the leading exchanges in the world, such as the London Stock Exchange. Despite investments to enhance market infrastructure, our market has not experienced commensurate, robust growth over the last 10 years. In fact, the last few years have been particularly depressing. The situation has decreased domestic and foreign direct investment in our country that is usually channeled through the capital markets. In our view, Kenya, being one of the most promising frontier economies in the world, may soon not have the public capital markets to match the dynamism if the challenge is not adequately addressed. Your Excellency, capital markets are driven by sentiments, and the positive sentiment of your victory lifted the market, as Mr. Wangunyu said. But I'm certain that today, your presence here and the pronouncements that you will make will lift the market even further and inspire confidence not just by the owners of capital, but by the investing public out there. At the moment, 65% of all the funds trading in our market are foreign funds, and 35% are local funds. But I'm certain that there's a lot that we can do to stimulate the local economy to participate more in retail investing. And you've been very passionate yourself about the public doing more in gaming than they are on the stock market. And we completely ascribe to that school of thought.
We would like to see more listings. With the money we already have, we are unable to actually deploy it effectively into this market because there are no instruments, there are no listings. I would like to encourage the private sector, the family concerns, the family businesses to come to this market. I mean, I know we are encouraging our government to bring the market, but I want to challenge our brothers and sisters who have invested in the private sector. I see Fimal Shah there and others. Surely, why can't we bring the listing so that we can be able to buy into it? On behalf again of my CBF Financial Services Group, we have a lot of sizable property investment, around 17 billion, and we want to list part of it in this market. And we have actually applied to our regulators, and we are hoping that they will in due course give us the green light to bring the first ever IREIT, income REIT, real estate investment trust from the pension sector coming from LAP Trust of 7 billion shillings. And I hope we will be able to achieve that in due course.
We were voted into office overwhelmingly by the people of Kenya on a platform of economic transformation. In that journey, in that quest the capital markets industry is our very serious partner. And the presence of His Excellency the President this morning here underscores our serious commitment to partner with you for the economic transformation of this great republic and eventually to restore the dignity of the Kenyan people by improving the quality of lives. I want to confirm to you that we have very firm and strict instructions from the President to do whatever it takes to do away with the bureaucracy and red tape to facilitate and support investment. That you have our word, and we shall do what needs to be done, and the Investments Commission and National Assembly, in the review of that law, will roll out a very robust, extensive public participation so that the players can give their input so that we get the right law into place. That the problems be developed in this country has been a problem of leadership. Everything starts and ends with the leadership. Once you have the right leader in place to give leadership and direction, everything gets very easily done. I want to confirm from where I sit and my continuous engagement on a daily basis with our president. He's an easy president, he's an easy leader. He'll be available to you on short notice to discuss on what we need to do to improve investment and overall our economy.
We have a thriving private sector and a capital market that holds great promise. This moment is pregnant with wonderful possibilities, and we must deliver them together. We stand on the cusp of an opportunity to renew the relationship between Kenyans of all walks of life with the Nairobi Securities Exchange and to reaffirm the place of the capital markets in igniting and sustaining unprecedented national development and socio-economic transformation. Today, therefore, I'm delighted to ring this bell and to usher in a new era of inclusive transformation possibilities, spanning the public and the private sector, involving all from the bottom up. My administration has set out its commitment to promote the public-private partnership framework as yet another preferred mode of development financing, which we intend to rely on in mobilizing necessary funding for investment in diverse sectors, including roads, housing, water, energy, ICT, and agriculture. This renewed commitment to the growth of capital markets, inbuilt with well-developed modalities that provide clear and effective exit mechanisms for our public-private partnership investors, should serve as the highest assurance from my administration to investors that their investments are safe and that their investment decisions in Kenya are made in a predictable, coherent, and stable environment. There is need for both sectors to work together in good faith, develop trust, and make reciprocal contribution to its success. It is my hope and desire that the private sector will reciprocate the government efforts to accelerate privatization and develop our capital markets by offering more privately owned enterprises for listing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange as part of their contribution. And on this note, I want to congratulate Bio for beginning the journey to list in the stock exchange, and also congratulate Credit Bank. I am told that they too, Madam Korir, they too have gotten the necessary approvals to list in the stock exchange. I want to ask, and I must congratulate our banks. They have stood with us. Whenever we went to the market with our bonds, they have supported us. They've always been there. But I also want to ask that we bring the other Kenyans into that space. We all agree it's a profitable space. It's not always you get interest of 10%, 12% guaranteed by government. You're doing well. I mean, the banks are doing well. Let's be honest. But the small people are not doing well. You know, they are getting 2%, 1% for the money they save in our banks. I think it's only fair that we begin the journey to even our returns. Let us even the returns. Because bottom-up is about not leaving anyone behind. Let's move together. It's the best way to grow the economy. Inequality breeds suspicion. The more we create an unequal society, the dangerous it becomes. We should proactively, deliberately work together towards minimizing and reducing inequalities in our society by making sure that we democratize opportunities for wealth creation. Let me repeat it again. I am saying we must work deliberately to equalize opportunities and democratize opportunities for wealth acquisition.
Get a chance to wake up as a